Ms. Jessica Tan.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to participate in the budget debate. I would like to thank Minister Heng for delivering a budget that balances the needs of Singaporeans in the areas that matter at each stage of life, at the same time supporting businesses as they restructure, while continuing to push forward the strategic long-term goals needed to enable Singapore to stay relevant and build the society we aspire. In my speech today, I will touch on the following areas: building SME capabilities, the lower foreign worker dependency ratio, supporting an inclusive society, and tightening of the relief for travellers. Small and medium enterprises make up more than 90% of the total number of businesses operating in Singapore and employ 65% of the workforce. Therefore, supporting SMEs to build deep capabilities and to grow to stay relevant and competitive are key for both companies and individuals. This will impact the number and the quality of jobs, as well as the competitiveness of businesses. The feedback I've received from dialogue sessions I've had with SME leaders and members of business associations that operate in my ward is that existing schemes with pre-approved digital solutions are helpful, but more flexibility is needed to support the diverse needs and the stages that the businesses are at. This will enable them to address the opportunities and challenges that the major shifts that Minister Heng had spoken about in last year's budget, as well as at the opening of his budget, that's impacting these businesses. The shifts of the economic weight to Asia, which brings opportunities for our businesses, but also increases competition. Rapid technology advances that enables new capabilities, but disrupts business models. Changing demographic patterns with an aging population impacting both our talent base as well as our manpower requirements. And the decline in support of globalization that's impacting and creating greater global geopolitical uncertainties. So just last week, a resident who is an SME business owner came to our Meet the People session seeking for help for his business. We initially thought that he was seeking for financial support and grants, but after discussions with him, I realized that what he was really seeking for help for was to restructure his business and digitalize. He was, however, at a loss and didn't know how to go about it. He did take advantage of current schemes available to digitalize and to have his website and online presence set up. But he too realized that it wasn't enough. He needed to rethink how he did his business in order to better leverage technology to help him stay competitive. And he clearly needed help, not with funding, but in transforming his business. Transforming how he did business in the markets and markets his products and services. He needed new skills to understand how to do so. And he needed to also understand how to leverage the technology. So the budget builds on programs already in place to support businesses, but introduces new initiatives to help businesses restructure. And I believe that an approach that supports companies at different stages of growth is needed. And I welcome the announcement in this year's budget to focus support in an enterprise-centric way, noting the different approaches for large companies with complex needs, as well as the common challenges that SMEs are facing in digitalizing in common functions like HR, finance, and customer relationship management, and more targeted support for SMEs as they restructure and grow. Minister Heng spoke of the introduction of the Innovation Agents Program, where businesses can obtain advice from experienced industry professionals who have both technology expertise and business experience to support their innovation efforts. So I'd like to ask how support will be provided by the innovation agents, and how will it be structured? What are the qualifying criteria for support, and how can businesses tap on this program? Now let me touch on the lower foreign worker dependency ratio ceiling. This announcement on the reduction for the services sector has sent a very strong message to companies on the need to be more productive and to rely less on foreign workers. We must recognize that this will not be easy for companies in the services sector, as they rely heavily on manpower and currently are facing challenges in attracting Singaporeans to take on jobs in the service sector. The countries of sources for these foreign manpower are also developing fast and will progress well. And supply for this, I think businesses must understand, supply of these manpower will eventually diminish as well. So while it is painful and difficult, if companies in the services sector do not reduce reliance on foreign manpower for their businesses now, they will be more severely impacted if they are not prepared for it. To raise productivity of the services sector, companies will need to innovate and to restructure. And we will see some companies struggle to make this shift. So apart from the extension of the Enterprise Development Grant and the Productivity Solutions Grant, more needs to be done to help businesses in the services sector improve productivity and reframe their business models and strategy. The same challenge will also be met by other sectors that are labor-intensive and have low productivity. We ask, why is it challenging for companies in the services sector to reduce their dependency on foreign workers, on foreign manpower? Is it a question of not being able to attract Singaporeans to the jobs? Are the factors due to demographic changes with an aging population? Is it because of the demand and working conditions of the jobs? Or is it due to the high expectations of Singaporeans for work? Or is it an issue of salary? Or is it an issue of cost of getting Singaporeans? The questions and issues have been debated, and many of these factors have been attributed as the possible reasons. But I believe that the answer actually is in all of the above. And what's important now is that for businesses to build a sustainable model in a market like Singapore, which is developed, where we're not a cost leader, we have tight labor market, our market is small, so therefore we have to differentiate by being more innovative and delivering better quality. And how we do this will decide on whether we are competitive or not. The answer, although, is not a simple one, and it cannot be achieved by doing more of the same. And it's also not about just innovating and applying technology and automation. It requires rethinking of how business and work is done. And the service sector, as the name suggests, is all about service and customer experience. So many do fear that technology will result in lower customer touch, lower personalization of services, and poorer customer experience. So with innovation, technology if applied right, can achieve greater productivity and better quality, but requires rethinking of the way we do things. So let me share an example, a very simple one. This is an example that was shared with me of a business, Kopi Ong. It's a food and beverage business. It services professionals in the CBD area with freshly brewed coffee and tea, and they differentiate themselves in a very simple way by the signature kopi and tea to each of these customers' preferences. So what it means for them, though, is that the staff will take longer in preparing the coffee, leading to queues and longer waiting time. So what they did was they tested a solution offered by Foodster, a chatbot solution developed by DBS and Everybody, a chatbot developer. And it allowed them to be able to let their customers chat via Facebook Messenger and order the drinks they want and pick it up and get notification when the drink is ready to go and pick it up. So what it meant is that the business was able to achieve greater sales, better customer satisfaction because they picked up the coffee, didn't have to wait in a long queue, and they didn't need to have more workers, they didn't need to have more space as well. So what this allowed them to do is use technology, make it easier for their workers to plan the work, and at the same time be able to get better personalized customer service. So if applied right, with the right partnerships, the right support, I think businesses can change. It's a simple example, but I thought it's important to make the point that it will require us it's not just about technology, it's not just about the way we do business, it's not just about people and the skills, it's all of them. And therefore the support that's in place needs to do that. So now let me talk about supporting an inclusive society. Education, employment, healthcare benefits, affordable healthcare, caregiving affects all Singaporeans at different stages of life and regardless of status. The various programs announced in the budget did signal an inclusive approach to support Singaporeans through these stages while building on the fundamentals for the long term. So whether it was the Merdeka Generation Package, the extension of CHARS for chronic conditions, and some of the measures in the bicentennial bonus, like the 5-year Medisave top-up, these gave Singaporeans who were eligible, regardless of income and the type of property they lived in, the support and the assurance. This inclusive approach is important in building our social fabric. Similarly, with EduSave top-ups to support families with school-going children, as well as employment support for workers and seniors to enable access to opportunities, equally welcome, and I think it's very important as they help give opportunities to all at different stages to take advantage of the opportunities and to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that they're presented with. But as with all budgets, we do have to recognize that finances are finite. So to be sustainable, most support packages are means tested to ensure that they are targeted and go to those who most need it. The challenge is finding the right criteria to use for the means testing. So while not perfect, the per capita income and annual value of property lived in are used in Singapore to assess eligibility. For several healthcare and care support packages, programs, as well as the cost of living relief initiatives, when there is no household income, the annual value of property is used. With an aging population, there are many middle-income seniors who live in modest private properties that will be above the 13,000 or the 21,000 annual value criterion used for means testing. They therefore will not be eligible for many of these support schemes. An example is the caregiver grant that has recently been announced, and another is the the support given to lower-wage seniors who work, which is the WIS. So although for some of these seniors who do not own properties, they are not eligible for WIS if they live with a relative in a private property which will obviously have annual value above the criterion. And with people living longer and the cost of living concerns in a developed market like Singapore, while I agree that these schemes must continue to be means tested and target to provide support for those who most need it, will Minister give consideration to refining how we use that criterion of annual value of property lived in? The current blanket rule of annual value of property in relation to all who live within the same dwelling unit may miss its intent for scenarios that I had highlighted. So is it possible for there to be consideration for more flexibility in such cases to allow for eligibility? The last point I'd like to touch on is the GST import release for travellers. I had not intended to speak on this, but it did intrigue me, and the feedback I got was also quite surprising. So I think with the increasing trend of Singaporeans travelling, and if I understand correctly, the intent of the change is to make the tax system more resilient. So if this is the case, has assessment been done of how much it's going to cost to collect the tax? I believe there will be some digital methods to submit the tax. There will be administrative costs, workload for customs officers, and inconveniences to travellers. So this will all increase, so I hope consideration has been given to that. And will the cost of collecting the tax result in net revenue from the taxes collected? So can ministers share the anticipated amount of the tax to be collected and the significance to the tax revenue? So regardless, all Singaporeans travelling will have to be more diligent in declaring their expenditure, as failure to declare or incorrectly declaring their expenses does carry fines as well as prison sentences. So, Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding my concerns and my comments, I support the budget. Thank you.